to enact a right to information law, the Access to Information Act 2005, and later the Access to Information Regulation in 2011. The Act was enacted to promote the right to access to information, promote an effective, efficient, transparent, and accountable government, and to enable the public to effectively access and participate in decisions that affect them as citizens of the country. Since the enactment of the Access to Information Article and its enabling regulations, the government of Uganda has taken significant steps to promote the right to access to information through a number of programs and initiatives such as provision of public education airtime on radio stations in every district across the country to sensitize the public on service delivery and development issues. There was also the establishment of the government citizen interaction centers to enhance the monitoring of service delivery and provide a channel for feedback and suggestions from citizens. The Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, has, however, underscored the need to strengthen access to information to the informal sector, especially from the grassroots, saying there is still a need. He revealed this during a dialogue to commemorate the International Day for Universal Access to Information 2021.
It all comes down to one thing. What is the purpose of this glorified access to information? What is the main purpose? And my understanding is the overall purpose of this access is how does it transform the lives of the citizens in the country. Because we can end up being in boardroom discussion, elitist discussions about what we do, about access, Twitter, Facebook, and so on and so forth, without being context specific about the various issues that emerge from where we come from. Where I come from, I don't want to throw figures and numbers and statistics, but the greater majority of people do not have access even to a telephone. And then here we're talking about Twitter, Facebook, and how Twitter and Facebook will give access to information to my rural mother, who does not have a phone. Even if she did, she would not know how to use it, let alone smartphone. Are we being relevant to the bigger population? Are we? Or are we just flying above with the important things of the world, global issues, without dealing with the real transformational things that hold our people back? That's a discussion I'm ready to have with you. I have listened to the speeches which were made. And
it is true that many citizens in Uganda and around Africa and the world do not have proper access to information. Millions of women, millions of youth, and people with disabilities on a daily basis cannot access the information that they need in order to transform their lives. Governments have many programs and initiatives. Here in Uganda, there is the Operation Wealth Creation. We have the NADS program. We have, education programs. But many people don't know, how they can benefit from these programs. So, what the speaker said, that there's need, to strengthen people's access to information is important and true.
Section 3 of the article requires every minister to submit an annual report to Parliament on requests for records or for access to information made to public bodies and his or her own ministry annually, indicating granted or rejected requests and reasons for rejection. However, there has never been such report from ministers since 2005 when the law was passed.
Structural frameworks have been inhibiting access to information. Take a case, for example, we've been having NITAU, an institution which handles ICT, and we have information department which handles communication. These are really talk in different ministries, and they're not talking together, and yet you're supposed to move together. And some of these things have been achieved, for example. Now we are under one ministry. And as we speak, even why Sylvia is not here, they are working on a framework budget for this whole institution. All these agencies are working together, thinking alike. And for me, it's a big step in this direction. And another issue I see is when it comes to government, there's some things that have been achieved in terms of access. For example, as we speak, going forward, Parliament has put it in the rules of procedure. One of the things that actually government does is access to information is to deal with accountability. Where the money is. Government is doing something on behalf of the people. And what they request these people who hold the power, as the speaker mentioned, how do they report back? They request them to account, to look at the figures, but they have added another clause this time to submit a list by a particular date, by 15th of March every year. At least submit a list of people who have access to information. And even the reasons why you didn't give that information. For me, it's a good step in the right direction. And one thing also I'd like to mention is that many things are being done in terms of access to information, especially when you look at it in a holistic way. Because when you talk about information as a public good is something where you deliberately invest in a public good, in a road infrastructure.
Experts say that the government should engage in wide sensitization of the citizenry and officials from the right to information. This will lead to increased proactive demand for information from ministries, departments and agencies by citizens, as well as proper accountability. Bedson Mumbere, Smart 24.
And if you could definitely see that Section 43 of the Act requires every minister to submit an annual report to Parliament or request for records or to access for information made to public bodies under his or her ministry annually, indicating granted or rejected requests and reasons for rejection. However, the bigger question here is the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, has underscored the need to strengthen access to information to the informal sector, especially from the grassroots. If you are to mainly look at how Uganda has been among the first African countries to enact a right to information law, the Access to Information Act 2005, and later the Access of Information Regulations 2011. The Act was enacted to promote the right to access information, promote an efficient, effective, transparent, and accountable government to enable the public to effectively access and participate in the decisions that affect them as netizens or as citizens of the country. And this should actually be remembered that Section 43, meanwhile, of the Act requires every minister to submit an annual report to Parliament on request for the records or for the access to information made to public bodies under his or her ministry annually. Let's move on to the next one. Uganda shines at the second China-Africa Economic and Trade Expo. Uganda has joined a number of several other African countries who are participating in the second China-Africa Economic and Trade Expo from 26th to the 28th September 2021. The three-day expo is taking place in the Changsha city, central China, in the Hunan province, and is expected to have an estimate of 9,000 attendees in a hybrid event that will be held online and attendance as well. More of this report.
Uganda is set to shine at the second China-Africa Economic Trade Expo. The theme for the expo is New Start, New Opportunities and New Accomplishment. Uganda, together with other several African countries, will have an opportunity to showcase information on their investment environment, trade policies, key products and tourism to potential Chinese investors, forge new business partnership and joint ventures. Honorable General Katumba Amara, the Minister of Works and Transport, will virtually deliver a keynote address during the opening ceremony on behalf of the government of the Republic of Uganda. The Ugandan Embassy in Beijing and the consulate in Guangzhou is having an exhibition tour to display a variety of Ugandan products to Chinese potential investors and market its tourism and investment opportunities. The brand new event is organized by the Minister of Commerce, of the People's Republic of China and the Hunan Province People's Government. The first China-Africa Economic Trade Expo was proposed by Chinese President Xi Jinping at the 2018 Beijing Summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation as platform for both sides to deepen economic and trade cooperation. The first expo was held in June 2019. His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, participated, and a total ton of agreements were signed in the fields of energy, mining, trade and investment, as well as tourism and agriculture and infrastructure development, just to mention a few. Participants will be able to find African products, brands and 5 dedicated showcases which include the coffee exhibition area, nut exhibition, cocoa exhibition, agriculture and sideline product exhibition, exports to Africa exhibition area. In addition, there will be 22 events, including forums and business matchmaking activities, will be held there as well. Benson Mumbere, Smart 24.
Sounds of Pedison Mumbere over there. Now, the Uganda Embassy in Beijing and the consulate in Guangzhou is having an exhibition to display a variety of the Ugandan products to Chinese potential investors and market its tourism and investment opportunities. The biennial event is organized by the Ministry of Commerce of the People's Republic of China and the Hunan Provincial People's Government. The first China-Africa Economic and Trade Expo was proposed by Chinese President Xi Jinping at the 2018 Beijing Summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation as a platform for both sides to deepen economic and trade cooperation. The first expo was held in June 2019, and His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of Uganda, participated, and a total of 10 agreements were signed in the fields of energy, mining and trade, together with investment, tourism and agriculture, and to sum it up with infrastructural development, to mention a few. Participants will be able to actually find African products, brands and 5 dedicated showcases: the coffee exhibition area, the nut exhibition area, cocoa exhibition area, agriculture and sideline product exhibition area, and the exports to Africa exhibition areas. In addition, there will be 22 events, including forums and business matchmaking activities that will definitely be held. The online audience will have access to the cloud conferences featuring live webcasts of 2D or 3D cloud exhibitions and cloud transactions that will enable visitors to make purchases through e-commerce. Now, through e-commerce, now goods worth 85 million yuan, that is roughly 13.1 million US dollars, for export, and around 100 kinds of African products for import are now available in Kilimall and Kili Select as the 2 e-commerce platforms that are available, and about 386 products are expected to be booked via the expo platform. So if you can definitely see the upcoming expos as we are clicking to October, just a reminder, the 9th of October to the 16th of October, there is also the Tourism Expo, that is the East African Community Tourism Expo that will take place in Arusha. So all these expos are looking at a way of promoting trade amongst these African countries in contact with the foreign countries as well. And later on as well, on the 1st of October to the 31st of March 2022 will be the Dubai Expo. This particular expo, which will actually have almost 189 countries taking part in the exercise, will actually also focus on boosting and promoting trade in the different countries all over the world. That is why the Dubai Expo, which is one of the longest expos, 6 months down the road, half a year of an expo, each and every day there is a country that will be showcasing, and on the 3rd of October will be Uganda showcasing its own one. Away from the Dubai Expo, if we look at the Uganda here, that is actually signed at the 2nd China-Africa Economic Expo. Now, the 3-day expo is taking place in the Changsha city, which is in the central Chinese Hunan province, and is expected to have over 9,000 attendees in hybrid event. That will have online attendance plus individual or one-on-one attendances as well. Now, if you could definitely see that the theme of the expo, the 2nd expo, its theme is New Start new opportunities, new accomplishments. Uganda, together with several African countries, will have an opportunity to showcase information on their investment, environment, trade policies, key products and tourism to potential Chinese investors, forge new business partnerships and joint ventures. If you're to actually look at Honorable General Katumba Wamala, the Minister of Works, a keynote address during the expo, he actually came out and said, delivered during the opening ceremony on behalf of Uganda, said that together with the Uganda Embassy in Beijing and the Consulate in Guangzhou, the exhibition is going to look at targeting the available job markets for Uganda in the international space, and also to see that we become we can actually use and utilize that space to promote our trade. All right, let's move to the next story. As Uganda and the United Nations appeal to G7 on climate agenda financing promise. The 7 nations agreed at the United Nations in 2009 to contribute $100 billion each year by 2020 in climate finance to poorer countries, many of whom are grappling with rising sea levels. Storms and droughts have actually worsened by climate change. More of this report.
The G7 group of developed nations are yet to fulfill their financing pledges to developing nations for this year's climate change activities, which is curtailing efforts by poor countries to implement their commitments. The 7 nations agreed at the United Nations in 2009 to contribute $100 billion each year by 2020 in climate financing to poor countries, many of whom are grappling with rising sea levels, storms and droughts worsened by climate change. Last June, the United States, Berlin, Canada, France, Germany, Italy and Japan reaffirmed their commitment to mobilize the money from public and private sources. The new June pledge came in a communique at the summit in England, where they called on other rich countries to join their initiative. The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that protecting the planet is the most important thing as leaders can do for their nations or for their people, saying, as a democratic nations, they have a responsibility to develop countries reap the benefits of clean growth through a fair and transparent systems. As the second year comes to an end since the announcement, the UN is urging the G7 members to double their efforts and meet their pledges. The UN resident representative for Uganda, Elise Atafua, says that the financing is important to fund climate change mitigation and technology transfer, among others.
Last June, the United States, Britain, Canada, France, Germany, Italy and Japan reaffirmed their commitment to mobilize the money from public and private sources through 2025. But according to the UN, this has not been met to date. If you were to look at the G7 group of developed nations are yet to fulfill their financing pledge to developing nations for this year's climate change activities, which is actually curtailing efforts by the poor countries to implement their commitments according to the United Nations. Now, if you look at the 7 nations agreed at the United Nations in 2009 to contribute $100 billion each year by 2020 in climate finance to poorer countries, many of whom are grappling with rising sea levels, storms and droughts worsened by the continuous climate change. That brings us to the end of our local news updates. Let's cross over to the international scene. We start off from Dar es Salaam as a Dar woman has sued hospital seeking damages of 1.5 billion. Now, Flora Lingwana, a resident of Dar es Salaam, has filed a lawsuit before the High Court demanding 1.5 billion from the Kairuki Hospital and Dr. George Chungula for alleged negligence and damages they caused her when administering treatment between 2018 and 2019. She is demanding 800 million Tanzanian shillings as compensation for the alleged damages caused by 80 million Tanzanian shillings as punitive damages. More of this report. She is demanding for 700 million as general damages and declaratory order that the hospital, the doctor acted negligently and without medical care in treating her. However, Joint written defense statement, the defendants have denied such claims and asking a plaintiff to prove her complaints. In addition, Dr. Chungulu says he has never had any relationship with the hospital, Kairuki. Ms. Lingwana accuses the hospital and the doctor of being negligent, something that led to irretrievable loss of her womb. As a result, she no longer has any hope to conceive or bear children. She states that on July 2, 2018, while neither sick nor feeling any pain, went to Kariuki Hospital for the purpose of undergoing routine of what is described as pap smear test, the cervical cancer screening, which she had previously done routinely after every 3 years. Ms. Lingwana states that upon her arrival at the reception, she was advised that before undergoing the pap smear test must first see gynecologist Dr. Chungulu for filing the NHIF forms in order to be attended and be tested. The plaintiff states that she briefed Dr. Chungulu about her medical history. They advised her to undergo other several tests and the pap smear, which one of them is HSG, and the pap smear was not attended. However, the defendant states that Ms. Lingwana went to the hospital in July 2018 to see her doctor over her complaints relating to failure to conceive after she had given birth to her only child 6 years earlier, and it was after she had undergone several medical procedures at different hospitals. The suit is before Judge Lillian Itemba and has been set for hearing on October 21, 2021, after the both parties failed to settle the matter through mediation. The suit is before Judge Lillian Itemba and has been set for hearing on October 21, 2021, after the both parties failed to settle the matter through mediation. And however, the defendant states that Ms. Lingwana went to the hospital in July 2018 to see her doctor over her complaints relating to the failure to conceive after she had given birth to her only one child, who is 6 years old as per now, and it was after she had undergone several medical procedures at different hospitals. So, if you to clearly look at the set of the health sectors, not only in Uganda but also in the East African community, it is alarming for situations where a mother who has actually given birth to one child has actually failed to give birth or to contract a child, basing on the situation. And according to her, she states that on July 2nd, 2018, while neither sick nor feeling any pain, she went to Kariuki Hospital for the purpose of undergoing routine of what is described as pap smear test, the cervical cancer screening, which she had previously done routinely after every 3 years. Mrs. Lingwana states that upon her arrival at the reception, she was advised that before undergoing the pap smear test must see the gynecologist and Dr. Chungulu for filing the NHIF forms in order to be attended to and be tested. And if you look at the same situation, Flora Lingwana is a resident of Dar es Salaam who has actually filed a lawsuit before the High Court demanding a 1.5 billion Tanzanian shilling from the Kairuki Hospital and Dr. George Chungula for alleged negligence and damages that caused her when administering treatment between 2018 and 2019. She's actually demanding more 800 million shillings as compensation for the alleged damages caused and 80 million as punitive damages, because now she cannot even actually give birth depending on the same matter. Well, now that brings us to the end of our news hour this particular moment. I will return with analysis in regards to the business stories. Keep it SMB.